The federal ban on price gouging for groceries. You are skeptical of this. Why?
Well, first of all, nobody can explain what price gouging means. But it also would be very bad for markets. We've seen this kind of thing tried in lots of other countries before: Venezuela, Argentina, the Soviet Union, etc. It leads to shortages. It leads to black markets, plenty of uncertainty. And beyond that, the specific way this bill is written might actually increase prices.
There you have it right there from CNN, that it might actually increase prices. Joining us now is Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. Senator, I know you are doing a counter-programming press conference. Why are you here in Chicago, and what is the message to the nation in contrast to the DNC?
Well, Charlie, the theme from the Trump campaign's viewpoint for today is make America wealthy again. And it's very appropriate because we finally heard some proposals out of Kamala Harris, and they are literally jaw-dropping. I try and remind everybody that Venezuelans voted themselves into poverty. It didn't take very long, but they voted for Marxist socialists. And that's really what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz represent here in terms of American politics. It's an in-your-face selection of Tim Walz, but it certainly shows
Let's go into some of those
Kamala
specifics, from price gouging to supporting the Green New Deal. Please continue.
Well, so if you take a look at what happened in Venezuela, I was just reading an article how their agricultural sector is basically going to collapse. Farmers have not been able to buy the seed corn they need to plant for the upcoming season. So again, communism, socialism, it leads to destruction. It impoverishes people. About the only equality you get is equal misery. And that's the path that the Biden and Harris administration has put this nation on. And Harris Walz will just continue that, probably put us on an even steeper path toward that level of destruction.
So, Senator, the message that we must continue to talk about in immigration is that Kamala Harris was in charge of the border, and she failed when she was in charge of the border. How specifically should we talk about that? I mentioned this with Senator Rick Scott. The DNC is going to lie about border crossings being down. You cannot trust these numbers. Senator, she is in charge of the border, the greatest humanitarian and crisis in American history. Your thoughts, Senator Ron Johnson?
Well, I'll challenge you. Said that they failed. They didn't fail. They succeeded. They got exactly what they wanted in terms of the border. They opened it up. They wanted an open border. They caused this problem. And they did it from my standpoint, there's only one reason, one explanation. They wanted to bring a bunch of people in this country illegally. They would be very grateful to Democrats, and they would vote for Democrats, if not this election, sometime in the future. There can be no other explanation for this clear and present danger that they have made America open to. So she succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. I'm not even sure they could believe that they got 6, 7, 8, 9 million people to come to this country. So they succeeded at what they wanted to do, and that's what Americans need to understand. This is the policies they are pursuing. They are destructive. We're going to be living with the negative unintended the negative consequences of their open border policy for years, if not decades to come. The war on fossil fuels, I think it's important that people realize, Trump is unveiling his energy policy because as a private sector guy, he understands that energy, power is required for a successful economy. The more of it, the cheaper it can be, the more successful your economy can be. It impacts the price of every good and service, energy. And the Democrats' war on fossil fuel is basically a self-inflicted wound. It's driving up the cost. It's making it more difficult for people to get by, particularly people at the lower end of the income spectrum, which are the exact people they purport to want us to represent. They don't. They're doing them great harm.
1 minute remaining, Senator. As a businessman, can you tell the audience how catastrophic it would be when Kamala Harris says she wants to give $25,000 to first-time home buyers? What would that actually do to the housing market?
It'll drive up the cost of homes. And it'll, again, it's just crazy. Just like all these student loans is driving up the cost of education, they're really benefiting nobody other than further mortgaging our children's future. So she'd do this with money we don't have, drive up our debt, drive up interest rates to eventually lead to some kind of debt bomb, and at the same time actually drive up housing costs. It's insane. It's a fantasy. But again, the mainstream media won't point that out.
Senator, you are fighting for liberty and for America every day in D.C. I thank you, and please have a great press conference with Senator Rick Scott as we are continuing to contrast our vision with the DNC's. Thank you so much.